It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Thursday, July 4th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Sermons in the Sky, QNA Thursday, and of course, commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. Whew. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And it is a wonderful Thursday. Hope you guys enjoyed your Wednesday service last night. I thoroughly enjoyed it also. Well, I haven't enjoyed it yet, but I know I am because I will be listening to it a little bit later tonight. How are you doing? How is everything going? Hopefully, everyone is doing well in their faith, their family, their health, their finances, whatever it is. I hope that everyone is doing well. Don't forget that not only just today, but every Thursday we have Q&A Thursday. And if you have any questions or anything you want to ask about, go ahead and leave it for me on whether in the comments or in my DMs, right? Whichever one, but very happy and thankful to be answering the questions that I'm able to answer. And if you haven't yet, for today's video, the one you're listening to right now, leave a like and comment to build our community. I am just very happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. Now, this week's Sunday message title, there are two. The eternal world is determined on earth. Well, actually, it's not two titles, but it's the eternal world is determined on earth, and God and the Holy Spirit help you every day. Okay? So there it is. That is this week's Sunday message. Hope you guys have been keeping up with it, doing your word studies, going over certain points that you want to learn more deeply about too. For me, and for all of you out there, it is Thursday morning. Hope you guys are having a wonderful morning, had a good time of prayer at the pre-dawn. And I hope that everyone has enjoyed their week. Also, we've already crossed over the threshold of the middle of the week, and we're going into the tail end before the weekend comes up. It's already Thursday. I am super happy and thankful because it just means that Friday is tomorrow. But just like we celebrated on Monday, it was Canada Day on July 1st. It is Independence Day in America. It is the 4th of July. Hopefully everyone over there in the U.S. will enjoy your holiday, celebrate the birth of, I would say, and just looking at the overall, looking at the world history itself, America is one of the greatest nations in human history, I would have to say, just from all the advancements, from the finances, economics, everything else. I wouldn't say right now it is the greatest, but it is still a great country, and I hope that it will remain one of the beacons of hope for many countries around the world, not only just physically speaking or economically, but also spiritually too. So happy 4th of July. I hope everyone has safe celebrations over there in the U.S. I will not be celebrating the 4th of July. Well, firstly, I'm not American. And secondly, there was a better holiday a couple of days ago. What was it called again? Oh, yeah, it is Canada Day. Yes, very, very grateful and thankful for that. But, yeah. You know, there's a lot of different things that I think everyone goes through in their everyday life. And I'm going to ask you guys if you've experienced this before. Have you ever tried to help someone else out, but others try to stop you from helping them? Have you ever had that? Like, I think it's something that I was talking to someone about this too, that, you know, sometimes they feel like even though they're trying to help someone, which is something that we, especially as people of believers in God and such, we try to do, yet sometimes they feel like people don't want you to help that certain person. And sometimes it could be because maybe they have some issue with that person. It could be a personal thing. Sometimes, I would even say sometimes there's jealousy. Sometimes there's, like people are not in a good state or whatever it is. But we were just talking about how odd it is if that happens in Providence. Because we're in a place where we want people to help each other, right? And like I would say sometimes even for myself, I've seen it too, there could be a group of people in the background trying to influence a situation or people will try to talk to me, and sometimes they even speak in code. Have you guys ever had that before when someone speaks to you in code? I find that really weird. Like, it's so obvious they're trying to say something to you, but they're not. You know what I mean? They're trying to say something to you, but they're not saying it directly, but they're making it so obvious that they're trying to tell you to do something. Like, for me, there's sometimes I look at the way someone talks to me, I'd be like, okay, and I just ignore it. I totally ignore it because it's so weird when I hear people talk like that. Like, I already know what's going on, but just to watch it develop and watch how they speak in that weird code, it's interesting and odd and entertaining at the same time to watch it happen in real time, right? Like, a certain topic comes up, and then they'll be like super agreeing with like, yeah, you should do oh, that's going to be the future kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, they'll say certain things, and I look at them in my heart. I don't look at them with my face, but inwardly I'm like, oh my gosh, don't they know how obvious they are? Oh, you should do it this way, but they're not going to say it directly to you. And it gets to a point if someone pours it on too much, it becomes like, I can't stand it. I'm like, I can't believe they're talking like that kind of thing. So, I would say when I see people kind of like that, it's too funny, interesting, entertaining, and annoying at the same time. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have gone through this at all, but for me, I have experienced this, and I'm sure we've all experienced something like this, where people they think they're being incognito, like they're being someone who's like trying to lay low, but it's so obvious. You're like, oh my gosh, don't they know how obvious and ridiculous they sound and look? But I don't know. For me, I found that to be quite funny after having this conversation with a friend of mine, and we're just like, yeah, it's so weird. It really is weird, but I'm not sure. Have you guys had that experience before? I've had that. Not a lot, but every once in a while you run into people that I would say, you know what? It could be cultural, actually. If I were to think about this more deeply, maybe as a Western person looking, like, I'd rather have someone who's direct with me, where in the Asian culture, it's more of not getting into conflict and they don't want to say something. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, that just popped into my head right now. I was like, yeah, it's possible it could be something more cultural than it is something that is a character. Or, it's possible it could be a bit of both. That's possible too, I think. I think that's very, very possible also, that it could be a bit of both. But yeah, that was just something that I was talking to a friend and we were just kind of laughing together about it. And, in the future, like for me, I am very, very transparent with the things that I go through. But of course, I don't want to talk about things where people are going to be uncovered, like, oh my gosh, it was that person, or someone's going to say, are they talking about me? And usually whenever I talk about things, it's like a while back. We're talking a long time ago, or something where I don't want to expose anyone, because I think that's not a good thing either, to just be exposing people and stuff like that too. But I would say is later on in the future, when things are, when things have passed, where you can laugh about it and stuff, I would say, I would say there's a time where things are okay. There is a time for that type of thing. But either way, so, I have been going over, one of the things that we do talk about in Providence a lot is there's like we talk about how there's such a lack of males in Providence, or in the former faith, or there is a big issue with confidence with men in the world in general, right? So we do talk about this, and a lot of times, like I told you guys before, sometimes we see a problem, but we don't really investigate it, or we don't really research it, and all we do is think that, oh no, we just got to evangelize more males. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, that is not the right way to do it. I don't think that's the right way to do it. Just to say, let's evangelize more guys. I don't think that is right at all. Because there needs to be a reason why something this drastic or this extreme is happening in the world, or in Providence, or in the former faith, or just in the world in general with men. if we don't figure what that is, it doesn't matter how much we go to evangelize guys, because they're all going to be suffering and going through a very, very similar situation. And if we don't really know what it is, this is where even if we try harder to evangelize guys, it's just not going to work, right? So for me, I do go into research about men. What is going on? What's the research out there about? And now that because there is a problem with men everywhere, right? There's some problem, like men are going through confidence crisis. Men are, there's just a lot of struggle that guys are going through right now. And it's really interesting to hear some of the results of what is happening, right? Why things are happening this way, and why are men finding it difficult in life that, they're turning more towards video games and going towards things that are more virtual than in real life. And, I think that the more we study, because these are the guys that we're trying to evangelize. So if we're trying to evangelize these types of guys, then we need to know what they're struggling with and what they're going through, right? So there are some major research studies about men and why men are going through difficult times, right? And I was just looking at some of the research when it came to just income in general, just like income between like a man and a woman. So here's some interesting facts about guys that I think that we should know. So how much a husband and wife makes actually affects the relationship satisfaction. What does that mean? So as the gender pay between the husband and wife begins to equal out, the relationship satisfaction decreases in the relationship. That's interesting, right? So imagine if a guy is making way more than a girl. Your relationship satisfaction on both sides, both the man and both the husband and the wife, increases, and the more equal it becomes, the less satisfied both sides are. And it even gets to a point, there's like some parts where it says when a woman contributes like 70% or more of the household income, you are twice as likely to get divorced, right? And here's something that's even more interesting. So let's take a look at the income in women and income in men. And we're looking at it from both perspectives, okay? So if we look at a 10-point scale, when a man makes more money, they become more attractive to a woman, right? So remember, this is just general statistics. So if you're on a 10-point scale, a man can increase his attractiveness by making $100,000 more in income. They'll increase their attractiveness to women, okay? However, in order to make that same increase for a man to be more attracted to a woman, right? The woman would not have to make $100K more. It's not equal. The woman would have to make 10,000 times more to increase her attractiveness the same amount it takes for a man to increase with only 100,000. So 10,000 would mean that they're making like how much? $10 million. That's when they become just as attractive to a man as a woman would be attractive to a man who only makes 100,000 more. And you might think to yourself well, that's unfair, isn't it? And the answer is no, because men and women look at different things. And this is why it's such a big thing for us to understand the difference between men and women. Women are attracted more to security, right? Like, so if a man makes more money, it means that they can provide more, they can have a family, they can do this and do that, right? However, men don't look at income as the same thing. So when men look at women making more money, it's not as attractive because men don't look for money, right? They're not looking at provisions and status, right? And the thing that makes it very, very interesting and makes it more difficult for men right now, women are looking at the socioeconomic status much more than men. They hold it at a much higher level. However, in today's society, women are no longer financially dependent on men, which means they're making more money. However, women on average, like women from the ages of 21 to 29 are making more money than men of the same age, right? So here's women making more money, yet they still look for a man who is higher socioeconomically, right? Which means that because they're making more money, but the way that their brain works is they're looking for a man who makes more, right? Who's higher on the socioeconomic status scale, right? Even someone who's taller in height. So imagine what happens to a woman if you're 6'1". Then just naturally, a woman is looking for a man who's taller than them, right? So if you're 6'1" looking for a man taller than you, then the only people really available are like pro athletes, which makes it very, very unlikely, right? So when you look at how things are, as a woman makes more and more money, but even though they're making more money, they're looking for men who make more than them, then there's less and less men out there for them to be attracted to, right? So you kind of look at this as like, it's almost like when you see what the men are going through is, and women are more likely to graduate from university, more men drop out of university, right? There's a lot of these statistics that are coming out. Now, is it saying that men are more lazier than women? And actually, they said right now, because there is an overwhelmingly there's disproportionate ratio of male to females in universities and schools and such, and disproportionately male and women and female teachers. The thing that's really interesting is the more the education system is geared towards how to teach females more than it is to teach males, and it makes males more likely to quit or drop out of school, right? So that was something that I thought that was quite interesting. The thing I found quite interesting is that if there's more men than women in universities and universities and schools, and more women teachers, then things are geared more towards girls than they are towards guys, which means it's a lot easier for a girl to learn in school because it's geared towards a female, the education system, right? But when you look at Providence too, there is disproportionately more females than males. And even when it comes to leaders, there are more females than males. Correct, right? So when we look at this, what does that mean? It means that we are just naturally moving towards education and systems that are made more for women than there are for men. Do you know what I mean? Because there are so much more women than there are men in Providence, we naturally move towards education and a system that is heavily favored towards women, right? And it's just naturally because there's more of them, which means that we kind of put ourselves into a cycle where the guys are put into a system that is more geared towards women, but then we're like, oh no, why aren't there enough guys in Providence? Or why are the guys like this in Providence? Where part of the reason is we have a system that's naturally geared towards women because there are more than men. Do you know what I mean? So it's really, really interesting. And I'm totally not here saying that, we're so at fault for doing this. No, it's a natural progression. It naturally moves towards it because there's more females than males, whether it's in school or whether it's in churches and stuff like that too. And if we don't understand what is actually happening or the difference between what's going through a guy's mind and what's going through a female's mind or a girl's mind, then we're going to see that, we're actually exacerbating the problem. So we're like, there's not enough guys, but then we're going to bring them into a system where it's all girls. Like, I'll tell you something that I think is very weird. I think it would be very, very weird if, say there's a blessed family, a blessed couple, okay? And I'm going to be very, very honest about this. If there's a blessed family, a blessed couple, and let's just pretend they're going through some marriage problems, I think it's very weird that you'll have a woman educating and start to educate this guy on how to do their marriage. Because women and men are different. The way they treat men and women are different, right? where the woman will be able to educate them from a perspective of a woman and what the woman's going through, but they will have no idea what that guy is going through. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would find it very weird if some head leader's like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with these husbands? They should be doing better, like this, and this. But it purely comes from a female perspective. And I would say that it's very, very easy for us to think that we know what the opposite sex is going through and know what's in their minds. But I would say both sides probably are very, very ignorant to what the other side is thinking and what they're going through in their hearts and their minds, right? And I think that would cause a lot more problems in the relationship, or it will emasculate the men, where the men are feeling like they're the problem and they're the ones doing this and that, where in reality, it's not like that. There's always, in a marriage, it's always two sides, always, right? Always two sides. And both sides have to work on it. And yes, one side might have a little bit more than the other, but a lot of times it's communication. A lot of times it's this or that. And I would say that, yeah, definitely it's a lot harder for guys than it is for girls. Only not because we've done it on purpose. Like, I'm not saying there's a fault, like, oh, it's all the woman. It's not the woman's fault. It's just that we have more women than men, so we're more geared towards men. We're going to have more things for women. We're going to have our educations that is more given in an education style that's for women more than it is for men, and it just naturally comes that way. It's a natural thing. So, I don't want anyone misunderstanding me saying that, oh, you look at Pastor Sky's talking only for on guys' behalf because it's this, and this. No. The reason why I'm talking about this is because our problem is we don't have enough guys. And we don't have enough guys, and we're stuck in a situation where we're trying to get more guys, yet we're in a system that's probably favoring females more than males, just because there are more of them. There are more female leaders, and there are more females just in the church itself, that it becomes very, very natural for things to be done in this way, right? And that's something I do think that we have to seriously take into consideration. We can say all that we want. We could say everything and just say, oh my gosh, there's not enough guys. Let's just go out and evangelize more guys. And I'm going to be super serious with you guys, is I don't think that's a real solution. If we don't even know what the issue really is, and we just say to ourselves, all right, guys, let's focus on guys. And the answer is, that's not going to work. It's not going to work, because this problem of males not being in providence is not something that has happened on purpose. It has naturally, organically happened, which means that in the past, it wasn't like there weren't any males that were evangelized. They either left or they never came to providence, and more of the women stayed. Do you know what I mean? So more of the women are still here in Providence because it's geared towards it, where we've naturally come to this point, where we have evangelized both guys and girls, but because of how things are, we've naturally had more women stay in Providence than men stay in Providence. You know what I mean? So that is something that I think that we do have to really think about very carefully and understand really well about, this male evangelism issue is not a let's just work harder thing, because that's basically what we've said every single year when it just comes to evangelism in general. Let's work harder. And I think all of us can basically say or be a witness that it hasn't really worked that way. It just hasn't, right? So I think it's something that we really have to think about very deeply. Understand it at a much deeper level. What is a guy going through? And I would even say, like, just as someone who is a male who's kind of been here for 26 years, who's seen all the different things that have happened throughout, and luckily for me, I've been to multiple different countries. I would say that we would need to really understand what is happening and understand from the guy's perspective. And I do think not on purpose, but just naturally, guys are kind of emasculated in Providence, I would say, right? Like I would say that's something that is something that we need to look at and say, I wonder why it is this way, right? Like I go to most of your countries, and I would say that probably most of your leaders are females. Probably going up to the top. Are there any males at the very, very top making decisions or this or that? I would say in a lot of cases, you probably won't see it in a lot of cases. But I do know some countries that do have it, but it's something that I do think it's something that we have to think about very, very carefully too. Right? Like, let me give you an example of the difference between guys and girls. So when you take studies of boys and girls when they're younger and how boys and girls use technology, it's so different, like very, very different, right? So the two things that when it comes to technology, there are two things that technology does. It's either it gives agency. It means that if you have agency, you have the capability to make something happen, right? So for like a guy's able to build a civilization. A guy is able to crush a civilization or whatever it is, right? Like they are making it happen. And the second thing is communion, which is connection and being part of a group. And obviously, when you have boys, when they go to technology, they have much stronger agency motive. Their motivation is agency. Boys gravitate to games that allow agency, particularly war games. Something about hunting people or animals down. Something about shooting each other. It gives agency. We have a hunter-warrior mindset. Boys head straight to video games like that and to YouTube to learn things so that they can do it. On the flip side, girls have stronger motivation towards communion. So when girls go towards technology, what do they go for? Visual social media like Instagram and TikTok. Girls are more likely to go to platforms about pictures about their life and waiting for strangers to comment on it, which is very, very dangerous, right? So they're more about communion, connecting with others. Girls like to do things face to face, where boys like to do things shoulder to shoulder. So when you look at these things, it's very interesting that when we look at guys are very, very different than girls, but we can't treat everyone equally or the same, or girls like, we can't treat the guys like we're treating the girls. They're completely different. And like I said before, like in these studies, it's saying society is actually accommodating more towards females. Why? More females in college, more females in university. Teaching style is made towards female learning. And it's quite natural that even in churches, most people are female, and we naturally will be made to accommodate females more than males, right? And that's why it's very counterintuitive that our churches will be naturally pushing towards accommodating females than males, which means we're naturally pushing away males. And then we're going to say, why aren't there more men? Oh, why are the men so weak? Or why are men like this or that? So, there's challenges on both sides. And I think that the biggest problem we have now is not having enough males, right? And it's something that we really have to think about carefully. And like one thing that they said, why men have less confidence, or they're not feeling like a man, like you'd say, like quote unquote, like a man. In today's society, it's like you can't feel bad for men, or else you become someone who is anti-woman, right? So when you're a man, you are 4 times more likely to be addicted to some type of drug and 12 times more likely to go to jail. But no one talks about the things that men go through or they'll be considered anti-woman, right? Remember this, we're talking about in the world. So that's why there's no sympathy for men. Men are in quiet distress. And they said one of the biggest reasons for not having many men not having very good men is because there's not a very good male role model. And of course, we do have Sunseam as a good male role model, but we're talking about someone, you get to see all the time, right? So it's very, very interesting and different where they came up with some solutions. Like, for instance, because the male brain develops slower than the female brain, anywhere from 2 to 4 years slower, and men are more likely to drop out of school, and more women are finishing school. They say that, the education system is not good for men. It's biased against them. And one example they gave is boys are twice as likely to be suspended for doing the exact same thing a girl does. So a girl and a boy can do the exact same mistake, but a boy is twice as likely to be suspended, right? And it's very, very different. So I would say that, we have to think about how men think, how men work, and what can we do to get men. Like, we need better men. We need better men, but we need good, strong male role models around them. Young men need guidance, and not from women. Women will treat men and talk to men like they are women. It's very, very different. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because we are in kind of an epidemic of not having many men. That's what it is. We try to evangelize, we just can't keep them. So the issue is not that men are not studying the Bible. Like, there's a different issue. It's not just, men are not spiritual, men are not coming to Provipuff. No. It's a worldwide thing, right? We can't keep them. We don't understand them as well, right? And one suggestion I would make that the former faith church did in the past, but I haven't heard much about it now. I remember they have like men's conferences only for men, right? And, the conference is there not to put men down. It's not to put women down. It's more of to empower the men to become good, faithful, great men of God, right? Like, that's what the purpose of these men's conferences are, right? And like I said, I don't think that we're solving the male problem by saying to everyone, let's evangelize more men. I think that would be, for me, that would just be inexperience in leadership. To say that is the issue, is we're not evangelizing enough guys. Let's spend more time on guys. Let's do this for guys. I don't think that is going to be the actual solution to it, right? And if we really want to solve this issue, we have to see the whole picture of what men are going through in society right now, why it's such a big epidemic around the world, and also think to ourselves are we actually making it easier for men or harder for men in Providence? Are we making it a place suitable for men to be at or not suitable to be at? Like, this is something we really have to consider, each and every one of us, right? In our churches too. And especially when it comes to, I would say we need some good male role models, very, very good male role models. But I would say that, that might be something that is very difficult for a lot of people to find, right? Not people, like, I'll say this, and this is my honest opinion. I find sometimes where some male leaders, I'm not saying all male leaders, obviously. I'm just going to say some I've seen, they've basically become so emasculated. They're just, they're not really like, I'm not sure if that's the right word to say, but they're just basically listen to every single thing, and they're just like, whatever, they're not, I'm not sure, I don't want to say it the wrong way, but I'll say that they don't really have that feeling that they're a man. They feel more feminine than they do masculine. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that or feel that too. I'm just saying that that's something that I've noticed in some. I'm not saying all, definitely not all, right? I would say at least some. Some I've seen like that. They've become very feminine, more than masculine. But that is something that I really, I implore everyone to really think about carefully and really know that this is something that it has already reached a point where we have massive problems because there's not enough males in Providence. And it's something where we do need to research, see what the studies are showing, and be able to solve it through that lens, more than just let's work harder. Okay? So yeah, I would love to talk more about this too, because I think this is a very, very big issue that I think both men and women care about right now. And I hope it's something that we can think about for the next couple of weeks too. All right? So there it is, guys. That is today's first segment. Oh, by the way, guess what? Episode number 8 is coming out for Love and Life this Saturday. Hope you guys will enjoy it. It's going to be great that both Aaron and Chelsea, brand new blessed family, brand new mother and father to their little baby Keo. And I hope that you guys will be able to gain a lot from it too, understanding it from the perspective of the blessed family. Okay? So today is QNA Thursday. We'll be going into that. But first, let's get into the first music break of the day.
Y'all ready for this?
You've shown you love me with things you've given. You know I love you, I'm already singing about the stories that we have together. It's here forever, it will only get better from now on. Everything that you've given, I'm so grateful. Let me show you my love, cause I'm so thankful. Let us dance on the streets, let us rock to the beat. Show me how you feel about me, watch me move my feet. You're always on my mind, I can feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. I wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say it again, I'ma dance with you.
I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can move to the beat. Our love so complete. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can groove to the beat. Our love so complete.
You've shown your loving, you gave me a chance. And with the mistakes I've made, I've never fallen away from you. Though times are rough, it'll be okay, cause I am never, ever, ever gonna leave you astray. Ay, thunderstorms are a little scary, but with you, I won't feel weary. Even on cloudy days when skies are gray, my heart's a cave, the sun will shine through the rain today. Let us dance on the streets, let us rock to the beat. Show me how you feel about me, watch me move my feet. You're always on my mind, I can feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. I wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say it again, I'ma dance with you.
I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can move to the beat. Our love so complete. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can groove to the beat. Our love so complete. I'ma dance with you.
All right, so let's get into today's QNA Thursday. And of course, we do have a couple of questions from you guys out there. I think we have 1, 2, 3 different questions. Okay, so let's go into the first Q&A questions. They said in the June 23rd Sunday message, it was said, you have to know, why did this kind of tribulation, suffering, and injustice happen in this time period? If you don't know, you need only to be thankful, pray by asking to always live according to God's will and live loving Him. What do you feel the reasoning is for us going through this kind of tribulation or suffering and injustice in 2023, right? So I would say, so this is something very, very interesting. And I would say there would be, just from my personal perspective and from what we see throughout history and repeating history, I would say that this is something that it was going to happen. However, it didn't have to happen in the way it actually happened. So what does that mean? So what does it mean that it was going to happen no matter what? Like, I think this is going to happen, meaning there's going to be a strong tribulation in 2023 no matter what. Why? Okay, so if we look at repeating history, remember in times, and half a times, we have the central figure path is 21 years of the public ministry, 3.5 years of grave period, and then 21 years of resurrected history, right? The second half, okay? Now, what happens in the first half of history is Sunstein would be focusing on Korea, the chosen nation. So Korea is focused on, and they'll have 21 years. And in the 21 years, they need to build their province nation. And at the very end of the 21 years, Satan gets to strike. And basically, people are going to go through, it depends on how well they did. If they are people that really stuck to God, that they were people that really were convicted and loved God, if they were like that, then what would happen? Then they would be able to overcome everything in 1999, right? So what happened at the end of like the way Sunstein put it is, the reason you're training for 21 years is not just for the sake of training. You're training because there's going to be a match. There's going to be a game. There's going to be a fight at the end of it. That's the whole purpose of training. Soccer players don't practice just for the sake of practice. Soccer players practice because there is a game, right? And for us in Providence, we need to understand is Korea went through what they went through, and they went through 1999. Same thing happened. The person who was like number 2, the person right next to Sunstein, was the one that did the exact same thing that KJS did, right? So a lot of people left Providence at that time too. And basically that was the result of 21 years of people doing, the people following this history, doing their responsibility or not doing their responsibility, and basically ending up the way that they did, okay? So that's kind of what they went through, okay? Now, the second thing we need to understand, so that's something that happened for those first 21 years, okay? Now, the second half of history is 2002 to 2023, and where was the focus now? The focus is now on the entire world ministry, right? So the focus is on the world ministry. So what happens is, the world at 21 years, the world is being built up, trained, and made. Why? Remember, training is there because there is a game. Training is there because we eventually have to go through something very, very strong, right? And what we realize is like, okay, so at the end of the 21 years, what happens again? After the world has received the word, we've got the words of the complete testament, all these things have happened, and depending on the disciples' responsibility, how much they did or did not do, what happens? They eventually get to go through their match. And we went through in 2023. Why? Repeating history. At the end of 21 years, you have you get the word, and through the word, you either put into action or you don't. And what ends up happening is you either succeed or fail during that big test match, that big fight against Satan, right? So this is what you call repeating history. So this was something that was supposed to come, is bound to come, this difficulty, all right? Now, another thing that we look at when it comes to repeating history is that at the end of the first 21 years, when it was focused on Korea, what happened was, what Sunstein said is, there's 2 reasons why these difficulties actually came, okay? The first and the biggest reason, right? Or there's 2 big ones. Number 1 is the time period did not accept the one that God sent. So there's number 1, right? So there's the time period is wicked. So that's one of the reasons. But the second reason, which was huge, is the disciples did not do their responsibility, and this is why it happened in this way, right? So when we see the end of the 21 years, the exact same thing happens, where we see that we're looking for, at the end of 21 years, a big match going to happen there, right? And that's something we look at and say, okay, so that makes sense. However, when we look at the reasonings for the first half, this could be a possible reasoning is not only just society did not accept the one that God sent, but you also have to look at it as, what did we do? Did we learn from our mistakes from 1999, right? Did we learn from it or not? Are we in the right place or not, kind of thing? And that's something that we have to look at ourselves is, have we done our responsibility or have we not done our responsibility? And that is a big thing that we do have to consider, right? That some of it, or maybe a lot of it, is our fault, right? That we couldn't fulfill our responsibility. We weren't as convicted as we should be. We didn't spread the gospel. We didn't evangelize. And, part of it makes me think about part of it makes me think about like the types of judgment that we're going through right now. And I bring this up all the time, but the low birth rate, not having enough guys, all these are different things, not just in Providence, but in the entire world. Birth rates are low everywhere physically, just as the birth rate spiritually is super low in Providence too. It almost seems like it's just a fitting judgment. Do you know what I mean? So I would say that, when I look at history repeating itself, I would look at some of these things and contemplate and pray about this. I can't think about anything more that would make more sense than this repeating history. That's just my specific point of view. And I think that's kind of the reason why we're going through this. And I would say the biggest one for sure is it's us. It's definitely us. How far we've come. I think everyone has to just kind of sit back and take the emotion out of it and look at your country and just tell me, honestly, are you really doing well in Providence? Like your Providence as a country. Like I want you to be honest with yourself, honest with your country, take a step back and look at it and say, oh man, we're doing awesome. Evangelism is like this. People are growing. People feel like content and satisfaction in life being in this history. People feel convicted. Like, where are we? That's a bigger question, is where are we right now? And that is something I do think we have to really take a look at. And if we don't take a look at this, and we're not going to be honest with ourselves, I do think we have to rethink again. And I would have to say, like, just my personal opinion, I think, I know that history is gradual, but I also think that if everyone was fully on board, you could make drastic changes and make them really quick. If everyone is on board, right? Like, let me give an example. Guys, right? If I were to tell you right now, let's just pretend, I'm just pretending. Let's just pretend if I told you guys straight up, guess what, guys? If everyone moves to the same church, your church will grow. Your country's Providence will grow threefold. How many people would do it? Right? Because it doesn't work if everyone is not wanting to do it. Right? If everyone doesn't want it, it's not going to happen. It's going to take gradual time for people to realize eventually, right? Like, I'm just saying if that was true. But if everyone is not on board, if we're not united, then what happens is it's going to take much, much longer. So I would say that's something that we would have to think about. Question number 2. Question number 2 says, there's a student on campus wondering what to say about drinking when one of their bosses are telling them things like, the Bible doesn't say you can't drink beer. And then tells this boss is also a Christian, tells them to loosen up a bit, right? So when this person brings up the Bible, if you don't know the Bible well, you're just going to be silent, like, oh no, what should I say, kind of thing, right? What I'm going to tell you guys is this: you don't need to prove everything through the Bible, right? You don't even need a Bible verse. Oh, the Bible says you can't drink beer, but guess what? Like, beer's not in the Bible, of course. Neither is cocaine. Does that mean you can do cocaine because the Bible doesn't say you can't do cocaine? No, obviously not, right? What I'm saying is sometimes you could just be a personal preference, straight up. No, I don't like drinking. Sorry, I just don't like drinking. Yeah, I do this for my health. I don't drink. Yeah, I don't care. I don't drink. Loosen up. No, I have fun in life. I don't need alcohol to have fun. Do you know what I mean? It could just be a personal preference and people should respect it. If they don't, it's like, yeah, that's my personal preference. Thank you. I'm going to have a Coke. I'm going to have a Sprite or a root beer, whatever it is, right? And I would say for people in that situation, you don't always have to prove it through the Bible. Even if someone says to me like, oh, the Bible doesn't say you can't drink, and I'll be like, I don't need to prove to you that why I don't want to drink. I don't want to drink because I don't want to drink. That's it. It's done. Do I have to drink? No, I don't. It's a personal preference. There are people out in the world who are not Christian and don't drink. They don't have the Bible to prove it. It's just their personal opinion. It's for their health, right? And I think that's something that we have to think about very carefully too, right? So that's answer to question number 2. Question number 3. This one says, it's a question about the Bible again. And in Daniel chapter 7, he has a dream about 4 beasts. In the book of Ezekiel, I thought the king of Babylon already took over. Why did the dream happen after the fact? How does one ever realize a chronological order of things if the Bible isn't written in order? And I would say, if you want to know the chronology of the Bible, number 1 is that information is actually readily available on the internet. You can find tons of information on the chronology of the Bible, right? So that's number 1. You can actually find that very, very easily. Okay. Second one is, I think the more interesting question is, why would Daniel have a dream about Babylon when it happened after the fact, right? And I would have to say that this has to do with, when you look at the Bible, there are many times where the Bible talks about things after the fact. In Revelation chapter 11, talks about the 2 witnesses. The 2 witnesses are who? It's talking about Moses and Elijah. And in the book of Revelations, it's like over a 1,000 years before that, right? So if it's 1,000 years before, there's Elijah and Moses. Revelations 11 is talking about Moses and Elijah. Why are they talking about the past? Because of the principle of repeating history. When Revelation chapter 11 talks about Moses and Elijah, it's not just referencing the past. It references the past so that we can understand the future, right? That's what it references. Why? Because the past, present, and the future are all done in the same way. And this is why, if it's talking about the 4 beasts, it gives us an answer. What is a beast? What is that beast talking about? Just in the same way, what's going to be the modern day Babylon? What's going to be the modern day Assyria? What's the modern day Rome, right? So it's something where we look at where just because it's something happening after the fact, the Bible references all the time, and why it's able to be referenced is because of the principle of repeating history that allows us to see the future is going to happen in the same way too, if that makes sense. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is the 3 questions for today's Q&A Thursday. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you have any other questions or anything else, please let me know, and I will put it into I'll put it in for next week, or if it's something that's a little bit more time sensitive, I can do it for tomorrow's podcast also. All right, there it is, guys. That is today's Q&A Thursday. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's move into the last music break of the day. once again, I am able to do today's sermons in the sky. So I hope that you guys will enjoy this. So let us listen together. So I was watching a podcast, and for me, it was a very, very interesting podcast because it was on happiness. It was a podcast on happiness. And the thing that was so interesting is that this Harvard professor said that there are two parts of the brain that will deal with happiness and unhappiness. And they're two different parts of your brain, which means there are things that we can do to make us happy. And there are also things that we can do that makes us unhappy. But there's nothing out there that can actually take away happiness. It either makes you happy or it makes you unhappy. And I thought that was really interesting, that there's nothing that takes away happiness. It only gives it or makes you unhappy. Which means there's nothing you can do in life to take away happiness. There's only things in life that actually just make you unhappy. And they said two of the things that really aggravate, like these are aggravating things that make us unhappy, is number one, being in traffic. Being in traffic doesn't take away happiness, it just makes you unhappy. And another one they said was spending time with your boss makes people unhappy. And this is interesting because it made me think really deeply why God did this. Why did God make it like this? And the more and more I thought about it, the more ingenious it was. Because there is nothing in this world that can take away happiness from you. Once you are happy, once there is something there that makes you happy, it cannot be taken away, no matter what anyone tries to do. Which means the only thing that Satan can do against you is trigger unhappiness. Everything Satan does to come against you, it doesn't take away what God has done for you. What God has done for you stands forever. It makes you happy. And whatever Satan does to make you unhappy, that's all it does. It just puts another emotion out there, making you unhappy. It excites a different part of your brain. And I realize we fall into this trap in life. And a lot of times we think that we're not happy. Oh, I don't have happiness. But no, you can't take away happiness. What happens is we are distracted by the things that make us unhappy. The trick that Satan does is to make us focus on what makes us unhappy more than focusing on what makes us actually happy. And it really made me think about our lives in this history, about this physical world we live in. The hardest part about our life, and the thing that really can curb or make you see things that make you more unhappy than happy, is that we come to God and we kind of put conditions on our happiness. We can't be happy without condition. There has to be a condition, right? We're fooled into putting conditions onto our happiness, which is so dangerous. Because happiness shouldn't have any conditions. There shouldn't be, I'm happy as long as I make this much money. I'm happy as long as my family is healthy. I'm happy as long as I have a secure job. Like, don't you see that this is one of the traps that Satan is trying to put onto us? The moment we put a condition on our happiness is the moment Satan starts to touch those things. Because when you say, I will be happy as long as I make $5,000 a month, well, then Satan's going to make it that you don't make $5,000 a month. And then he's going to you're basically showing God that I don't really love you. But as long as you do these things for me, then I'll love you. It becomes conditional. And it makes us end up complaining that God isn't helping. God, why aren't you helping me? God, why is it like this? But the reality is you've put it on yourself. We have made a condition for Satan to use in our life. We have made the condition for Satan to touch our lives in such a way that we are affected in our faith. We learn the word, and if we learn it properly and deeply, we wouldn't be affected by such things. We would be comfortable in Christ no matter what we went through. How many times have we read people in the Bible going through the most terrible situations like Job and Joseph, but they keep their faith. They're still happy to be in Christ. They're happy to suffer for the gospel. But here we are, we're 2 levels higher than Job, 2 levels higher than Joseph. But we've become a privileged and spoiled generation of brides. We can't handle difficulty. We can't handle suffering. We've lost that conviction. What happened to our hearts and our faith? Since when did we put conditions on our faith in God? Since when did we put conditions on our happiness that God, you better do this for me or else I'm not going to believe as well? The greatest and most important thing has been resolved, which is our salvation and our rapture. Yet we still put a condition on God. Give me a good job. I want to make decent money. And our faith wavers up and down because we don't have a house. We don't have a nice car. We don't have enough money. Or things are going bad in the family. Since when does this become the deciding factor in my happiness and in my faith? Since when did that become a reason for me to like or dislike God, to complain or grumble against God? Has God actually done anything to make us grumble and complain? When you look at all the things that happen in your life, God hasn't made all these bad things happen to you. Some of it is just part of life, the ups and downs. But then we blame God for it. But God's the one giving us the word. He's giving us love. He's giving us happiness so that we can overcome these things. We have to stop focusing on what makes us unhappy. You know, even if you get rid of things that make you unhappy, remember, it's only things that don't make you unhappy. It doesn't make you happy. Even if you get rid of all the things that make you unhappy, it doesn't make you more happy. You know, there's, like we said, I told you guys at the very beginning, separate parts of the brain. One part is based on happiness and one is based on unhappiness. They do not affect the other. So even if you get rid of those things that make you unhappy, it doesn't mean you'll be happy. You just got rid of something that makes you unhappy. And I hope it's really something that we think about in our lives. Look at your life right now. Look at what we're doing. Look at the things that you're holding God to. Are you really someone without happiness? Or are you just focused on what makes you unhappy? I hope this message kind of resonates with you and helps you to think about what we're doing in our life right now and the things that we're focusing on. So let me pray. Let me pray and finish it here. Beloved God, Holy Spirit, Holy Son, Lord Jesus, we are so grateful and thankful because you have given us the greatest thing that will make us happy, which is salvation and the rapture. There is nothing greater than this. There is nothing that will outcompete, that will make us that much more happy than to receive eternal life, to be saved from death. We can get rid of the traffic. We can get rid of talking to our bosses. We can get rid of all these things that make us unhappy, but that still will not make us happy. But you have given us the greatest thing, and I pray, God, that we will just have that thanksgiving each and every day, that we will be thankful for what you have done. We'll be thankful because you are the one that's given us the things to make us happy. The world will bring things to make us unhappy. Satan will put in the things that will make us unhappy. But ultimately, if we focus on you, if we focus on the things that you have given to us and be thankful each and every day, we will be focused on all the great things you've given to us to make us happy. God, we are so thankful. We are grateful. We have nothing to complain about. All we can say, God, is that you have made us happy. And even Satan can't take away what makes us happy. We struggle. We overcome. And we will get rid of some of the things that make us unhappy. And some things will come in and make us unhappy again. But it'll never take away what truly, truly makes us happy. We thank you with all of our hearts. We ask for your grace, your love, and your wisdom. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So very, very grateful and thankful, everyone, that you've listened to today's Sermons in the Sky. It's something that really pressed upon my heart when I heard the studies about happiness and unhappiness. And I hope it's something that really opens your hearts and your eyes too of what we're dealing with in our life right now also. Okay? Well, there it is. That is the end of today's Thursday podcast. Hope you guys super enjoyed it as much as I have. I hope you guys have an amazing, awesome Thursday, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone.